Alright everybody, for my LS400 friends, this is a video. I am doing timing belt on my car, and it's a little more than a timing belt. We're also doing cam seals, front main seal. I'm also doing distributor cap, rotors, plugs, wires, coils, and we're doing valve cover gaskets. So we're going to be tearing it apart quite a bit right now. So we're going to work with me. I'm going to do my best so that way I can show y'all how to do it. I've done how-to videos before. Hopefully this one's going to be better than the other ones, and I can show y'all the process of how, or the basic process and how to do it, and just follow along with me. I hope y'all enjoy it. I hope it helps out, and we'll go ahead and get started. Right now what we are doing, pull the radiator cap off. I let the motor cool off. We're draining the coolant right now into a pail, so I'm going to try to save my old coolant because it's still good. And once we get that off, or all that drained out, we're going to be in the process of removing the clutch fan, radiator hoses, get them out of the way, and then we're going to work on getting that upper intake plenum out of the way. So that and all that's coming out of the way, so that way I can have access to all the wires to the motor. We're going to flip them up, get them up out of the way over here, and so I can pull the valve covers off and all that good stuff. And we're going to try to get this thing done properly. I know there's already a video out there. My buddy from YouTube, that from New Zealand, he's done a how-to video on timing belt. I didn't really watch his, but I'm just trying to throw another one out there to try to help people out. So let's get started.
Alright, for starters, we gotta get this out of the way. And the hardest part is keep it still.
Alright y'all, we got the clutch fan out of the way. I had a bolt that messed up on me, so I struggled with it. Next process I think we're going to do, I was thinking about leaving the radiator in, but now I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. So I'm going to go ahead and move the coolant. I'm going to go grab my other oil pan, so when I undo the transmission cooling lines down there, I'm going to be able to let them lay in the actual drain pan with the oil coming out, so that will catch that and not make a mess. And then we'll go ahead and remove the radiator to give us more room. After we get all that out of the way, we'll undo the belt. We'll go ahead and get all that stuff out the way, get as much as we can off here, and then we'll move up here, get the upper intake plenum out, intake off, get all that stuff out of the way, so that way we can go ahead and start undoing all the plug wires and all that good stuff. So on to the next one. There you go. All the room in the world. Radiator's out. That's the condenser. Yes, those tabs are for my front radiator fans, because I got those aftermarket ones, so they have to go through like that. Probably wouldn't hurt to trim it, you know, and fix them a little bit. That's why I have the other radiator out. And now we're gonna go ahead and, I don't know, I might stop there, just go ahead and leave the belts and everything, because that's the next process. Go ahead and pull that upper intake plenum off and get that coater, the short rim intake off, get all the upper intake plenum off, just give us a little more room to access the valve covers, because we got to do the valve cover gaskets, and all of that is coming off, even the strut brace, because you got to get that off to get the intake plenum off. And you're only going to salvage from the radiator, because of the way this motor's set up, probably maybe a gallon of coolant. The other gallon of coolant you're going to lose. So whatever you need to do to save the coolant you got over here in this bucket, which I got things over there to pour that in, so we're going to save that coolant as much as we can, but the rest of it, which is going to be in here, you're going to lose. We're going to try to catch as much as we can with the the coolant drain pan, put it underneath the motor and try to catch what we can. But it's not gonna be any good, because the dirt from the motor and everything like that that's coming off the motor and the coolant's running down the front, it's gonna be no good anyways. So what we're gonna do is just throw away that, save that, and that way we only have to use one coolant, get 1 gallon of coolant for replacing. So, and the way my car's set up, if you notice, I got a little short piece right here. That's gonna come in handy when we're done, because I'm gonna rotate that up anyways, so it's out of the way. But I'm gonna pour coolant in there to fill the motor back up. So yeah, that's gonna help. So now next process is the upper intake plenum, and we're going to get started on that. All right, y'all, intake code or short rim intakes off. We got some of the plastic out of the way. Now we're going to take the spark plug covers off and wires off. We're going to get this piece out of the way with the coil. That coil is probably going to go in the trash, or I'm going to hang on to it. I think this one's going bad, and that's why it's fucking up my distributor cap. So that one's probably going to go in the trash along with the other one, because we got 2 new coils that are NGKs, and then we'll work on removing that intake plenum. Get that out of the way. We'll put tape over the hole so nothing falls in, and that'll give me access to all the plugs and wires. And we're going to unhook all of them, pull them up, get them out of the way. So let's go ahead and get started on getting that out of the way. All right, everybody, upper intake plenum's off. All the plug wires are out of the way. As you can see, everything's out of the way. Now we're going to take that harness and try to move it up and out, so that way we'll probably end up tucking it underneath the roof over there, so that way it's out of the way, because last time I dealt with it, it was in the way. Just trying to get it out of the way so it doesn't get too much more damage than what it is, because I've already had to come over here and fix this harness over here with electrical tape, because it had the plastic on it like this side, and it's all cracked up and falling apart. So we're gonna go ahead and start moving that stuff out of the way, and then we'll start tearing apart the rest of the front of the motor. Alright, now we got the wiring harness up out of the way. Gives us a little more room around that valve cover to access the bolts. We still got the plastic stuff that goes on the top of the valve covers is coming off. And then we're going to start working on the front of this motor. But yeah, we're pretty much ready on the valve cover side. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and jump on the taking off that plastic stuff, and then get on the front of the motor, start tearing it apart. update on what's going on. You saw that I took thermostat housing off. I fought with that because it was stuck in the hole. And I was being gentle, trust me, because I didn't want to break any sensors or crack the crossover. So I was trying to be careful. I don't think there's supposed to be silicone on that piece right there. There's supposed to be a something about O-ring kind of gasket, because it has a groove for one, or a Velcro gasket. I know my brother's car, I think there was a Velcro gasket on his. I don't know, I'll have to look at my kit and see what it comes with. But that's the top of the water pump right here. That's the crossover. Anybody who's interested in knowing, when your car is warming up, the thermostat's closed. It comes up from the water pump back into the crossover, and it just, you know, circulates like that. Now, but when the thermostat opens, it's got a piece in it that pushes closed and blocks off the passageway to the crossover and forces the coolant to the radiator. And then through the radiator, goes in there into the crossover, goes through the motor, and then the motor pulls it back through into the water pump and back to the radiator. You know, give you an idea on how it works. But I'll show you here in a second. But here's the thermostat housing. It's kind of hard to see, but there's the port for the crossover thermostat. When it opens inside here, it has that little valve at the end that blocks off the hole when the thermostat opens. And then it just circulates to the radiator through this port. But when the motor's cold, it blocks this port off, and then it recirculates it back into the motor. So you have a constant flow of water, and it's never sitting still, which is a pretty cool design. And no, I didn't want to take the thermostat housing off. Why, when you can just pull the whole thermostat piece off, which is also a housing. So all right, we're gonna continue on, and you can notice I got my bucket down there. You can see the coolant right there, and you can still see the coolant in the water pump. When we pull that water pump off, all that coolant that's in the block and that right there is going to go down there, and it's catching most of it right now. Hopefully it catches all of it, because I don't want coolant on my ground. I got dogs. But we're going to start pulling off these plastic covers, and I just found out that's bad. So I got to figure out how to get one of those. Hopefully I don't have to reuse it, because I don't have no idea how long that's going to last, and I don't want to have to go through all this just to change that piece. So, all right, we're going to continue on. Y'all can see down there, but here's my alternator. It's a little dirty, but it's not bad. Power steering pump's not leaking. It's just grime, road grime, and that. Have to move that because it's part of this tensioner, and the tensioner's got to be removed to get to it. We got to remove that piece to get to the belt, and I can't remember. Yes, I got to undo the AC compressor because it's bolted to that piece, and just set them to the side, and it's out of the way, and then we should have full access. And then we got to take that off down there, the harmonic balancer, so we can get the rest of the timing stuff off. So we're going to take a little break, and then we'll come back to it and try to figure out a way to make more light down there so you can see what I'm doing. Well, everybody, we ran into a little circumstance. I'm making phone calls and trying to see if I can have a friend that has one, but I need a harmonic balancer puller. Usually, if I remember correctly, when I did my brother's car, the harmonic balancer, which is right there, would usually come off quite easily. It just slides right off as soon as you break the bolts loose. But for some reason, mine acting like it's stuck, and I can't get it to slide off. And I've tapped on it with a hammer just in case it has rust, you know, kind of holding it on, and it's still not breaking loose. So I'm at a standstill until I can find me a harmonic balancer puller. And hopefully I can get one today, because I got a lot of stuff sitting here. Wow, this camera's not liking the brightness, but yeah, I got a lot of stuff sitting there, and I need to figure out how to get this thing off. So I'll keep y'all updated if I find one. All right, everybody, this is what I had to get. Went and bought one. O'Reilly's Auto Parts has them for $26 after tax, and that's what you need to pull the harmonic balancer off on a 92 LS400 with the 1UZ. Probably first gen engines, but this is crazy because I remember doing my brother's car and I never had to use a puller on his car, but you can see it's pulling it off nice and easy. Watch, it's gonna get to the end, it's gonna fall. Yeah, there would have been no way I would have wiggled that off. Wow, that's got a lot of, that goes way in there. And there we go. Bam! Harmonic balancer is off. We'll set that down there with the kit, and that's what it looks like with it off. Now I can pull that bottom cover off. We'll see how bad that oil leak is, because it looks pretty bad from over here, but that's a cam seal from right there. Sorry about the lighting on my camera. Let's try turning the light off. There we go. But you can see the oil down there. So we're gonna go ahead and get the rest of that off, and there's a bolt there and a bolt there on each side. Let's see if I can make the lighting a little bit better. There's a bolt there and one hiding under there somewhere. We'll get that cover off, and then we can work on this thing right here. And then we'll have full access to the timing belt, and we'll set the timing to where it's supposed to be before we pull the belt off. And that'll work. So, fix that. That's fucking up the camera. There we go. And that's my finger. So, we'll go ahead and start pulling everything off, and where we can actually set the timing and go from there. I want to try to get as much done tonight as I can, if not have it done tonight, but I don't see that happening. I might be able to get the timing part done, but in the morning I'll have to do the valve covers. So let's get on it. All right, everybody, got that harmonic balancer off, the shim off of that. I have to move this coil, and there's a bolt that's really hard to get to, so we got to get that coil out of the way, which is right here. That's got to come off for this to come off. All the bolts are off of it, but if you look right here, this is in the way of that little knob, and it won't come off. So I gotta loosen that or take it off. I gotta take it off anyways, because I gotta change that coil. I got a new one for that spot anyways. So we're gonna get that off, get that big piece off, and then we're gonna try to set the timing before we take the belt off. I highly recommend to do that before you tear everything apart, because that way you don't take a chance of nicking a valve or anything like that. Really don't have to worry about that in these cars, because it's a non-interference motor. But it's good practice. It's something to be, you know, it's good practice, and it's a good thing to do before you do any timing belt on any car, is set it before you take it apart. When I mean take it apart, like take the belt off. Don't take the belt off until it's set, and then once it's set, then you're good. Real easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that, try to get that off, and then we'll move on to setting it. Alright guys, the video quality is gonna be a little bit worse, but if you look right there is my timing mark. That one's lined up. Actually, it's off probably about like a tooth. Oh no, it looks like it's lined up. Now let's go over here. That one's off by a tooth. Yeah, I was surprised too to see that. And I got it top dead center. Right there's the marks are lined up. If you know this car, that little dot in the right corner by the belt, that's the timing mark. And the tooth right there for the gear is also the timing mark for the crankshaft. Top of that, I did that to know when I was at top dead center. These marks, this timing belt is off on the passenger side of the motor. What joy. So we need to, I'm gonna pull it all out, reset it. I'm changing the cam seals and the crank seal on the front, and then we'll put everything back together. New water pump came with new bolts, idler pulley, tensioner pulley, and new timing belt. And we're gonna stick it back together and make sure it's right this time. This timing mark being off just a little bit like that will affect the other side too, and it actually could explain why my car is hard to start up in the morning, and it explains why it might be lack of power. This car's not running at 100% apparently, and we're about to fix that. I can't wait to drive this thing when I'm done, but let me go ahead and get started on that. I gotta go get the gun out of the house, the electric gun, because I gotta pull these cam gears off. So let's get started. All right, everybody, apologize for the lighting, but I've been busting my ass on this thing. You can see everything's looking pretty clean now in here. All that was black. Someone didn't even use the proper gasket on the water pump on this car. I don't know who it was that did the work on this car, but it's been done before. But there's silicone, no gasket. Even here, there's silicone, no gasket. They're idiots. I don't understand why they did not use the proper gasket. Me, I made sure to order the proper kit, and I listened to everybody on the forums. There's the proper gasket right there. It's metal with the rubber inner piece, and it came with the 2 O-rings. New idler pulley, new tensioner pulley, new belt, you know. Now I just gotta get those seals out of there and swap them out. But my biggest problem I'm running into, and I'm not gonna record myself fighting with it because I don't know how I'm gonna get it off. I can't get to the crank seal, and that was leaking, and that pulley is stuck. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fight with it for a little bit more, but I'm stumped on it and don't know what to do. So just like the harmonic balancer, I had to go buy a tool. I hope I don't have to go buy a tool to do that. So we'll see. Alright, y'all. Passenger side's done. It's got a new valve cover. It has new cam seal put in. We're working on the driver's side right now. Not as clean as it could be, but it is pretty clean down there. You're probably thinking, why are you pulling the valve cover? Because it makes it easier to get that cam seal out. So I'm going to pop that little piece off right there and then replace the seal and put it back together. And the old seals weren't leaking, but I'm just doing them anyways since I'm in here. And I still haven't figured out how to get that little booger down there off. I need long, small bolts, but I don't know if I got them. So we're going to figure it out. I'm going to go ahead and move on. But to do these cam seals, you can see there's a not plastic, but metal cover right there. You take the camshaft gear off, and then you take that cover off, and then that gives you access to the cam seal. And it's easier to take that cap off right there to get it off, because that old seal really doesn't have nowhere for me to grab to be able to pull it off. And I've heard people say, well, get a self-tapping screw. Yeah, but that's awfully small space right there. You fuck up and nick that cam, you're never going to have a new seal work properly. So I prefer to do it right the first time. I just wish I can get that one down there off. We're going to figure it out, but onwards we go. Alright, everybody, we're back. It's next morning. We are busting our little behinds, but I finally got that gear off. It's right here in my hand. Now, I had to consult a friend of mine. Yeah, it's a little dirty because I've been cleaning it. What's his name, from Australia, New Zealand, Kevin, his name is, from the YouTube channel Cartoons. I hit him up and I asked him, because I remember when I did my brother's LS400, this thing slid off nice and easy. I had to use my puller to get it off, and I couldn't find a bolt, so I kind of jimmy rigged it, backyard rigged it, did some backyard mechanic stuff. But this, well, now it's gonna make a liar out of me, and it's not supposed to do that. Literally, I just had it. There we go. See how smooth that is? All the way on, off. And this is tight tolerance, because that's why it's sticking on me when I first go on. That's the way it's supposed to be. I should have been able to reach down here, grab that, and it slid off just like that. But it didn't. It was stuck, and it was full of old... It's basically like sticky, dried oil that was in between it from the front main seal leaking. And that was what was fighting me. But we now got it off. I'm going to go ahead and pull that seal off, replace it. And then I'm going to put this back on, do the timing, and we're also going to have to clean the harmonic balancer too, because the harmonic balancer is supposed to slide off easy like that too, and it didn't. So we can onward and get this shit done. Excuse my language, everybody, but we're going to get this stuff done. Thank goodness. Praise the Lord. All right, everybody. We got the water pump slid on. I was wanting to let y'all know there's a little tube right here. It'll come with a new O-ring. Replace that O-ring. Take some anti-seize or grease or something and lube up the inside of the hole on the water pump. So that way when you go to slide it on, the seal will floop. You know, it'll plop right on and seal itself right up. And everything looks good. I don't see if the seal is poking out any or not, and it's not, so we're good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start putting the bolts on. We're gonna start tightening up this water pump, and then so we can get this timing belt back on. But I struggled with that, but now it's so free and loose. I'm happy now. So let me get these bolts in and we'll go on to the next step. All right, everybody, we got the new idler pulley tensioner. Hang on, I gotta adjust my lighting here. There we go. We got the new tensioner, idler pulley. Install the new tensioner. Leave the pin in. Do not remove it until you're ready to set your belt. Now, a lot of people don't realize on these LS400s, oh, excuse the lighting, my camera's all fucked up, but a lot of people don't realize when it comes to the timing belt on these cars, they got timing marks written on the belt. Some cars don't offer that, and we have to take white out and mark that spot wherever the mark is on the gear. And then once we get the belt lined up, then we mark on the belt. But I love about these cars, this is my second one doing. My brother's car, I did his when he first got it. But left cam, there should be another one down at the bottom. Crankshaft. You line those up with the timing marks, and then you just release your tensioner. But there's a process to this, and you got to make sure you do it right. And the way I do it, I always start from the opposite side from the tensioner. So we'll wrap it around the crank. We'll go this way, up over this, down there, and over here. And we'll make sure all of this over here is got tension on it, it's tight, and then all the slack's right here. So when you release that tensioner, boom, it locks it all in place, and you don't have no slack anywhere in your timing belt. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing that, and I'll show you when I'm done. Everybody, let me back that camera up a little bit. Now you can see timing marks lined up with that timing mark and that mark right there. We come over here, this one's a little more, but if you push down on it, it lines right up, and it's lined up with that mark right there. Then when you come down here, you can see a little dot, and there's a little notch right there in that thing. It's lined up with that. And if you look here, that has tension, that has tension, everything's tight, even that's pretty tight, and I still have the pin in it. Yes, I had to correct myself. I put these two on first and then tried to put the belt on, and I couldn't get the belt on. Take the tensioner pulley off, get the belt where you need it, lock it down. You're going to have to rotate this one tooth back from the mark, and then once you get this on, you rotate it back. That takes the tension out of this. When that takes the tension out of this, it's going to take the tension out of that. And the struggle is keeping this one tight on this side so it doesn't come loose. But once you get everything where it's needing to be, then you wiggle this in, put the bolt in, tighten it down. Everything's tight. Everything's tight. Now we can literally pull the pin, and everything is really tight. So we're good to go. Now I'm in the process of putting everything back together. All the timing marks are in time, cranks in time. Shit, now we're in the home stretch. We can start putting all the covers back on. Yay. All right, let me get started on that. All right, everybody, we are making some headway. Got the tensioner back in. Let me back the camera up. Tensioner's back in, harmonic balancer's back in. If you look, harmonic balancer is on 0, so it's top dead center. We got the distributor cap and rotors, they're brand new. Water pump, all that stuff's good and new. I wish I would have ordered one of these, but I ain't got time to wait on one, so I'm gonna use it and get one later. But that thing, bearing is wore out. My tensioner bearing is new, I've replaced it, and my other idler bearing is new, or idler pulley is new. I changed those about a year ago, so we're good on them. So I'm gonna work on sticking the alternator back in. AC compressor's bolted back on. We're on the home stretch. Once we get the front of the motor back together, we can start putting the top of the motor back together. Yay. And then I know there's a gasket that's supposed to come here. My kit didn't come with the gasket, so I'm going to use silicone to seal that. I got a water pump and thermostat housing silicone from the parts store. And it says it on there. Let me grab it and show you. See? Water pump and thermostat housing silicone. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that to seal it, and that's the only spot it's going to have silicone. But the water pump does not have silicone on. It has the actual gasket. I don't know if you can see back there. I'm looking for a spot where the actual gasket's showing, but yeah, I got that metal gasket in there, so that's gonna space it out and put it where it's supposed to be, where the other one didn't have it on there. So we're good to go there. We're on the home stretch here. I'm almost, well, not almost done, but I'm getting there. Well, everybody, we finally getting on the home stretch here. We got most 90% or 95% of the front of the motor back together. I still got to put the clutch fan in, but I want to put the radiator in before I put the clutch fan in. I don't know, I might put the clutch fan in first because it might give me more room. We got short cap rotors, all that stuff's plugged in, hooked up. We got the right side of the engine harness back on the car. Thermostat housing's back on. No, I didn't have a gasket for it, but yes, I used that silicone for it. It's meant for it, so I mean, I put a nice little, not too much. I mean, some people think more is better. Sometimes less is better. But in this situation, I left probably about 1/4 of an inch bead around the outer edge, so that way when I tighten the bolts down, and I lubed up the hole for the crossover, so that way when I put everything together and I tighten the bolts down, a nice little bead of silicone squeezed out around the edges, which means it'll seal. Once it dries and hardens, that's not going to leak. So we're on home stretch here. Oh, thank God. It's taking me longer than I thought it was going to take me, because I done my brother's, and the first time I did his, it took me a day or two to do it. But we ended up reusing this old water pump, and it started leaking literally right after we did everything, and I had to tear it all back apart to change the water pump, and it took me 3 hours to change the water pump compared to 2 days. So I was thinking, okay, I can get this done in 4 hours. It ain't no big deal. No. Day 2. And if you really think about it with the hours and everything like that, it's probably been total hours worked on the car 14, maybe 10, 14 hours. So I mean, yeah, maybe a day worth of work. So I'll show you what it looks like right now. There you go. Engine harness is on this side. On the passenger side, driver's side is not in yet. I got the wires ran for the front of the motor for the crank sensor, cam sensors, and all that good stuff. I'm about to swap out the coils on the brackets so we can get them on, and then we can start doing spark plugs and wires. And then last but not least, intake manifold. Oh, I'm hoping I get this thing done by tonight, hopefully before dark. So let me get right back on it, because there's our junk box, and I still got these things right here, and all that still got to go back on the car. Intake manifolds in the trunk, so, but not all of it, because these are the old distributor caps and rotors right there. So let me get this thing back together. All right, everybody, I'm working on the coil packs right now. That's my new one, NGK, brand new coil. When you change these things, there's my old one over there. I have no idea what brand that is or whatever, but you see how dirty that metal is right there? And the new ones come out the box all nice and clean. Well, in your bracket, this is what your coil grounds to. So the surface underneath there that this coil grounds to, it has a big old metal piece that goes all the way around right there. Make sure you clean that with a wire brush before you put your new coil on, so it gets a good ground. Because if you don't, you're just hindering yourself from performance that your car could have, because they don't have a proper ground, and the proper ground is dirty with corrosion and that, and that's what this one had. I should have showed y'all before I put it back on and before I cleaned it, but this had a little bit of corrosion all the way around on the bracket. So what I did is I took a copper wire brush and I scrubbed it down and cleaned off the corrosion, and then I put it together. But yeah, make sure you clean that bracket before you put the new coil on. Make sure there's no corrosion, rust, or anything like that on it, so that way it has a proper ground. And now I'm going to put it on. This is the one for the passenger side. It sits right there. So now I'm going to go grab the other one. I'm going to do that one over there, and that one's a pain in the butt to put back on, so that I'm going to start working there. Alright, everybody, started on the other bracket, and I wanted to show y'all if I can get it to focus. You see that little bit of white right there? That's corrosion. Got a little bit of corrosion here, there, and there, and it's a little bit oily. So I need to clean that off with a wire brush before I put my new coil on. But that's what I was talking about right there. Make sure you clean that corrosion off before you put your new coil on, because it's not going to give it a good ground if it's not clean. So let me go ahead and get started on this and clean it off. Alrighty, we're back. Can't really see it that well in the dark, but if I can get it. Alright, everybody, now we're back. You can see now the corrosion is gone. Got it cleaned off. We're ready to put the new coil on, and we can start putting it back on. But yeah, no more corrosion. Clean surface. Alright, everybody, now we got the coils on there, coils on down there, got all the plastics back on the valve covers, crossover right there. You know, we're ready to start changing the plugs. I'm going to put new spark plugs in this thing, and I'm putting new spark plug wires. My new plug wires, everything on the ignition system except for the caps and rotors. Caps and rotors are Bosch, but my coils, my wires, my plugs are all NGK. I went all out this time, so I hope the car actually runs good this time. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on that. I'll put a picture up of the firing order, but it's pretty crazy on the firing order on this car, because you got two that go this way, and then you got two that go that way, and then the same thing here, two that goes this way, and then two that go that way. So it's a little bit of a spider web's nest. I did have the plastic things that go right in there, but I don't think I'm gonna put them back in there. I don't know. I might dig them out because I still got them. They're a little bit of a headache, but we're gonna go ahead and run everything and then properly make it look neat. But I'm gonna do plugs first, and then we're gonna do the wires. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on that. I want to show something. And this is crazy. I bought my other wires from a local parts store, and I kind of wish I bought these in the first place. These are NGK wires. If you look at them, they got plastic in places that they need to be protected. Plastic right here. But this is the coolest part. Each wire is numbered for each cylinder it goes to. That is awesome. So I got the 2 coil wires, and then like number 1's right there, and then number 2's over there. They're numbered. Sweet. So you know which wire goes where. I like that. You can't get these wires messed up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this. I would usually do a time lapse on this, but I need the wiring or the firing order off my phone, so I can't do that. So you guys don't have to wait, which would be like 2 seconds for y'all when I'm done. All right, everybody. New plug wires are in. I'm happy with that. I did grab some of the little plastic things. I didn't use all of them, but I used all of them but one. We got them in. We're in good shape. I'm happy with that. Even like this piece right here, you know. There we go. Kind of tuck it a little bit. I like that. If you can buy these NGK wires, man, they're worth the money. I'm very much happy with those wires. I hadn't even started the car yet, and I'm happy with them. They went on easy compared to my other ones. So, alrighty, now we're gonna put the plug wire covers on, and all we'll have left is the clutch fan and the intake manifold. We'll be done. Yay! Starting to look like a motor again. A 1UZ again. Heck yeah. Next is the intake manifold. Onwards to that. That shouldn't take a few minutes to put in. And then we can spin her over and see if she runs. Actually, I need to put the radiator in before we try that. And I might do that next, the radiator. Get all that hooked up down there. I think that'd be the smarter route. Alright. Let's get started. back, everybody. I didn't show the cold start. Filled it up with coolant. Got the fan clutch on. You can hear it. It's running. So it's running. I've got it up to temperature. You know, engine lights off. Hasn't came back on, and it fired up first hit. I'm very happy with that. So, and it's running smooth too. So we'll just see what it does, you know. Ain't no leaks. I've got it up to operating temperature, thermostat's on, and I hadn't seen no coolant leaks or oil leaks, which is a good sign. So we'll have to see. Give it about a week or so, and we'll recheck everything. But I'm happy with it, and I don't think it's gonna be the greatest how-to video, but hey, I had so much going on between working on the car and then had to take care of the house and blah, 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 blah. You know, I know I'm complaining, but hey, you gotta work with me. Or you don't have to, but thanks for working with me. But if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. Next time, I don't know what's gonna be next time, so I'm tired. I'm about to go in the house and start cooking dinner, so y'all have a good rest of your weekend or week whenever I get this video out, and please subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of you who watch my channel but don't subscribe, so hey, I'll see y'all next time.